Alright guys, what I'm working on doing today is I'm working on pulling the front timing cover on this. I want to check for the killer dowel pin. I don't know if it's ever been done to this engine. I don't really know the history on it. Project truck that I'm just trying to get going. I have some time, so I'll figure I'll work on it. First things you got to do is pull the fan off. So I'm going to pull the fan off. I already broke that loose. Use my fan tools. Tools I used was a KDP 31, 36, 76. It's a 36 mil. So if you have a 36 mil wrench, you can use that. And holder. I took one nut out of the pulley, so that way I can get my holder on there better. I'm going to pull the fan off. I'm going to pull the radiator out to give me some more access, so I'm not working in a tight area. I don't have to worry about damaging the radiator then. I also want to flush the coolant system on this, so I'm going to pull everything apart, get the coolant out of it, rinse it, and run some cleaner through it. And I also need to, when it's down, can't really see it too well, but I got the one freeze plug back there that's popping, or weeping I should say. So it's just weeping a little bit, so I'm going to pull that too, get a new freeze plug for that. So I'll make videos of as I'm doing it when I get the stuff out. So first thing I'm going to do is pull this fan shroud out, pull the fan off, so I can pull the fan shroud out with the radiator, and then we'll go from there. Alright, now that I got the radiator out of the way, now I can actually see the engine. So the next thing to do is I'm going to take the serpentine belt off here. I'm going to put my ratchet in here and loosen the tension, pull the belt off. Once the belt's off, then I could take this idler off. I could take the screws out. I'd have to probably get that one. I want to take these for the pulley, take the pulley off. So I want to take the pulley off first, and then you can get your screws out. Once the screws are out, then I can go down there and see if I can get, I guess, the balancer off next. So, but we'll get the belt off, get the idler off, and go from there. So, but now I can actually see the engine. So we can go through and do all that. I'll probably put the front of the engine back together, and then I might do a video on checking the valves on this, because I think this, if we can get valves adjusted. So, but that'll be the next, be down the line. So, but as you can see with the radiator out, you have a ton of space. So you can go through and you can check your boots, check your clamps, make sure your clamps are tight. Check them on both sides, make sure the boots are connected, the clamps are tight, none of them are going to break. So right now it'd be easy to get in there and put new ones on there. So I realized I have to do a radiator hose, this radiator lower hose. When I got it off, the hose was damaged. I didn't realize it with it in there, but I can change that now. So, alright, I got the pulley assembly off here. What I had to do was take the pulley nuts loose first before I pulled the assembly off, or before I pulled the belt off. Now that I got everything there done, as you can see, I also took this off. It's got 4 bolts on it. I used an impact of the 15 mil socket on it, because I got the room to break it loose. If you try with using a ratchet, it's just going to spin the crank over. So I marked how it is. So you're going to have to take that off, and you're going to have to take this sensor off, and readjust the sensor when you put it back on. But I'm about ready to take that off, and then I'm pretty much ready to start pulling this cover off. Before you pull this cover off though, what I would do is I go through and knock, you know, like this stuff off. This is actually from the belt. The belt wasn't installed correctly, so the belt shredded. So I need to put a new belt on there. I need a lower radiator hose and a new belt right now. So, but now I'm at the point now that I can go through and start pulling this front timing cover off to see if my dowel pin's been done or not. So once I get the cover off, I'll show you guys what it looks like. But before I do that, I'm going to go through and just knock some of this dirt off and clean some of this up first to keep the dirt from getting in the engine. So I'll clean up, you know, like this data tag and all that stuff. I'll clean that up. So, but this is what it starts to look like. Huh. That's cool. I got a vacuum line off, so that's always a good thing. And that goes up to my vacuum system. Up to that. So that's probably my issue with this truck. It has an ABS light on. And it goes up to the vacuum system, so it might be part of that. I'm not really sure. So, but it might also be the issue because the truck's not. It's running good, but it's missing mid RPM. So maybe vacuum has something to do with it too. I haven't figured that out yet. I figure I'll go through and do the little things that I need to do, like dowel pin and all that stuff. So, but as you can see, it's not that big of a deal. It's just taking stuff apart takes time. So, well, guys, I found out some bad news. Apparently, this truck's another one that the kill dowel pin got. The case is cracked right there. So, actually, let me just dowel pin claimed another one. The case is cracked here. I was trying to figure out what this was here. Apparently, they used some like RTV on this thing. If you look in here, this is where the dowel pin would be, but it's just an empty hole. It drops down out of that hole, hits here, and then goes in here and usually busts the case up. It's just got a crack in it. So I think what I might do is I might clean it up and put some epoxy on the outside. I'm gonna clean it and see how bad it is. I know I should change the case, but right now is not the time for that. So, because I gotta pull, what you gotta do then, if you want to change the cases, you got to pull this gear off, unbolt the injection pump, you got to pull that booster out, you got to pull the cam out, or pull the gear off the cam and try to press it back on, and you got to pull the rest of this junk off and get this out of the way, I believe. And honestly, guys, I don't feel like doing that to this truck, so I'm gonna clean this up and see how bad it is underneath. If it's just a little crack like that, I might leave it because I don't see any holes. When I was looking up from underneath up in here, I didn't see any holes in it, so I don't think it's any holes. I think it just cracked it, so it must have been idling or something when it dropped in. So 'cause usually they put a big old hole in it. So I'm gonna clean it up and see what I can do and see if I can maybe put some epoxy on it. I might use metal set and metal set the hole, or not hole, but the crack over top of it, and see if I can get it cleaned up where it's not leaking. They put epoxy all down here, so I'm gonna see how bad it all is and go from there. So, well, guys, I should have took a video of this before, but it was cracked right there. So I cleaned it up. I put some epoxy there, metal epoxy. Then I coated the epoxy with RTV here where they had it, 'cause I'm not sure if it was leaking there, but just want to try to stop it from leaking. So this is what it looks like with the timing cover off. Oops. So that's why it's such a pain to change it, because you got to pull the cam out. So right now I'm just going to try this and see if it leaks, and if it doesn't leak, then I'll run it. If it leaks, then I'll pull it apart and fix it. Alright, guys, I started putting it back together here. I've already put the timing case cover on, and I put the, I guess it's an idler mount, really what you'd say it is. I've set the crank position sensor, it's 50 thousandths. Okay, what I did here is I didn't have a 50 thousandths feeler, so I used a 20, there we go, 21 and a 29, which will be 50. So when you hold them together, that's 50 thousandths. So you set that under your sensor and you do it. So you're supposed to, I think, use a brass one, but I don't have a brass one. Just what I had the steel one, so I set it to that, and you tighten up them too. So you got to make sure when you put it all back together, you put your studs back in the right holes. So I got all that back together. Got the 4 bolts on that down there. Them 4 bolts put in, they're 92 foot-pounds. So I did that to get this on. If it was a 2-piece balancer, it would be 100 and, I think it was like 140 and then 90 some or something, or 70 or 50 or something. You have to look it up. I don't know. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but at least now that's back on there. So Got my bolts and all that back in there. This guy here was actually not even screwed in before, it's just sitting on there. So I had to readjust that, which isn't too hard. Just loosen that one bolt and you could do it. So I'm gonna put it back together, run it. If I get an oil leak, I know it's a timing case. If I don't have an oil leak, then it's fixed. So it'll work for now. So, because this thing had the dowel pin fall in there and bust the case. The gears looked fine, but the main case was screwed up, and I'm not pulling a cam to do it. So, and don't forget to plug your crank sensor back in after doing all that. So, because it won't work very well if you don't. So you can see I'm having fun trying to do it one-handed. So you gotta make sure to plug that thing back in. Easier with two. There we go. Snap. Okay. So the other thing I'm gonna do is, since I have access to all this, is I'm gonna probably do the water pump on it. Because when I got looking at it, I could see the slight dark area around the weep hole. So I'm just gonna do it because right now it's 2 bolts and a gasket. I have plenty of access right now because I have everything apart still. So, there we go. That's how to check for your dowel pin. Thank you all for watching.